Good morning, again. It is Wednesday, June 4th, and we are meeting for our Manatee Transportation Disadvantaged LCB meeting. And since we practiced at 10 a.m., let's do it for real this time. We'll stand up and do the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag,
United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we start off with member introductions. So we'll go around the table. We'll start right here with Brett.
I'm Brett, representing the APD.
Good morning, Amanda Corcoran with Easter Seals, Southwest Florida.
Good morning, I'm Dr. Cameron Hodgins. I'm a consultant for Easter Seals, Southwest Florida.
Good morning, I'm Rick Wellenberger, a citizen advocate user of the system.
Dr. Edwin Hernandez, Clinical Director, Department of Health.
Morning, I'm Mike Alberti, I'm with MCAT.
Katie Shepherd, MCAT.
Stormy Bird, MCAT.
Brenda Gordon, Agency for Healthcare Administration.
Morning, Christina Melling, Senior Connections Center representing the Florida Department of Elder Affairs.
Good morning, Alida Mojic, Department of Children and Families, Circuit 12 Community Development Administrator.
I am Tricia O'Brien, Director of Operations for Meals on Wheels Plus.
Nick Chiavini with the MPO.
My name is Dale Hansen. I'm the Transit Coordinator for the Florida Department of Transportation, and I'm sitting here for Victoria up the road.
David Machado, Fiscal Manager, MPO.
George Bruce, District 7, County Commissioner and Chair of the Board of County Commissioners from Manatee County. Sure. So we have people online too. Is there anybody online?
I think Kim was online.
I am. Yes. Hi. My name is Kim Gonzalez. I'm with Career Source Suncoast, and I'm the manager of the Ticket to Work program. Thank you.
And I am also online. This is Lindsay Heinrich with the MPO.
And do we have a quorum? All right, perfect. We will go to public comments. Is there anyone here for public comments? Is there anybody online for public comment? No? All right, that was easy. We will close public comment and we'll go to item number 4, which is adopting the minutes for the February 5th, 2025 meeting. Entertain motions for the approval of those minutes. You've had an opportunity to review them. They're in your packet.
The motion.
Second.
Can I ask for whoever does the motion and the second, since Lindsay's online and she's taking the.
Brett Gottschalk with the motion.
Christina Melling with the second.
Thank you.
Anyone opposed? Seeing no one, it is approved unanimously. Moving on to the action items, item number 5. We'll start with 5A. This is approval of the 2025-26 rate model. Story, are you presenting this?
Yes. Okay. Each year, Community Transportation Coordinator is required to submit a completed rate calculation model worksheet to the Commission for the Transportation Disadvantage. This rate model determines the trip rates for reimbursement to the CTC from the Trip and Equipment grant. Rates are determined by the model using budget and estimated trip and mileage data from the current fiscal year. The Transportation Disadvantage Coordinating Board is required to review and approve the service rates annually as part of the Transportation Disadvantage Service Plan annual update. And as you can see on the screen, currently it is ambulatory trips are $43.94 and wheelchair are $75.32. The new current calculation for ambulatory trips would be $45.40 and the wheelchair rate would be $77.83. That's it for that.
Sorry, did this one go up or down from last year?
It went up. Last year was $43.94 for ambulatory and wheelchair was $75.32. Anything else?
Anyone have any questions? If not, I'll entertain motion to approve.
Gottschalk with the motion.
Michelle Bryant, second.
All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair says aye, motion is approved unanimously. Moving on to item 5B, approval of the transportation disadvantaged trip and equipment grant application. Officer.
The Transportation Disadvantage Trust Fund is administered by the Florida Commission for the Transportation Disadvantage pursuant to section 427.0159. The annual trip and equipment grant provides $485,278 in TD funds for the provision of transportation services for the transportation disadvantage in fiscal year 2025-2026 FCTD funding. The annual trip and equipment grant requires a 10% local match of $53,919, which is funded through the Manatee County Paratransit Handy Bus operating budget and co-pays from TD bus pass sales. Yeah, which we're not currently doing because we're Fair Free. Once executed, the annual trip and equipment agreement provides for the availability of state funds to help support the cost of providing passenger trips to non-sponsored TD eligible clients in accordance with chapter 427, Florida Statute Rule 41-2, Florida Administrative Code, the most current commission policies, and the program manual for the FCTD trip and equipment grant for non-sponsored trips as revised on April 7th, 2020. Which, we have a slide of that or no?
No, that's my thing. It should be.
It should be in there.
No.
No. Well, I have it here. That's wrong.
Is it the same as what's in the?
Should be, yeah. Okay. And I think that's it for that.
Okay. Any questions on item 5B?
Yes, I have a question. Did the allocation decrease compared to the current year?
It increased.
It increased. Do you have? Not sure. We don't have it, but I know it went up,
That's okay if you don't have it.
It's again, it's a formula grant.
Right.
So as the population continues to grow and the ridership continues to grow, its funding will continue to grow until at some point it'll obviously plateau.
Yeah.
But we're still in the growing stages. And funding also does increase due to obviously inflation and all that. So as like I mentioned in the workshop, the total amount increased by $800,000. So all that $800,000 is divided then between all the counties, so by default it should have increased. Proportionately, I don't recall, I don't have it off the top of my head what the increase was. But yes.
Thank you.
It did, at least in our funding project, our grant, which is nowhere near to what the CTCs actually did. Our funding did go up, we were projecting 3%, it went up 4%. Granted, we get $30,000, so a couple of $1,000. But that's on our end. I'm not sure if that, what I'm trying to get to, I guess, I'm not sure if that flows through what your funding increase was also. I didn't get a chance to look at.
Yeah, I want to say it's close, but like I said, I don't have the actual number. But I know it's an increase. I don't think that's significant.
Any other questions? No, all right, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the transportation disadvantaged trip and equipment grant application?
I'll make a motion to approve, Alida Mojic, just for the record.
Do I have a second?
Brett Gottschalk, second.
All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, chair votes aye, motion is approved unanimously. Moving on to 5C, approval of the transportation disadvantaged service plan annual updates. That's her.
Yes.
Good morning again, Sarah Bowlesby with Finish. Haven't prepared any slides, but I'll be referring to the summary sheet that was provided at the front of the TDSP document. We prepared the 2025 annual update to the Transportation Disadvantage Service Plan. Next year will be the 5-year update, which everything will be redone. It will be a brand new TDSP, but for this annual update, only certain elements of the TDSP had to be reviewed and updated, and I'll just go through some of those updates, notable updates. So first, I will just note a couple of major accomplishments that MCAT accomplished over the last year. So MCAT established the Manatee Moves service in January 2025. That is a free on-demand service for veterans. It allows the veterans to access medical appointments. They can book these trips using an app up to 2 days in advance. They can also call MCAT to schedule trips as well. The MPO did their annual CTC evaluation of MCAT in May as well, which you'll be hearing about after this. And then in addition to that evaluation, the CTD did their program audits of all the CTCs in Florida earlier this year. So MCAT underwent that in May as well. And that's just a quality assurance review by the CTD using an independent auditor. And then on to the updates, we did update text regarding changes to MCAT services. So we added reference to the Manatee Moves program, made some minor updates to operating times, and then also added the updates to Route 3, which Route 3 was separated recently into 2 routes. So going from west of downtown to the beach is now Route 304, and then running east is still Route 3. We updated our reference to the Sarasota Bradenton Airport ground transportation hub. That's now about 90% finished. It'll have 4 bus bays and or four spots for buses, and then also an area for paratransit pickups and drop-offs, and that will be served by both MCAT and Breeze Transit. MCAT also finished a comprehensive operations analysis last year. That is analysis of the fixed route system, looking at where improvements can be made to any of the routes, including frequency improvements, route realignments, etc. We updated the TD annual ridership statistics that I presented previously. We also reviewed the goals and objectives and implementation schedule. There weren't any major updates to that. We just updated the status of those of that implementation schedule. We updated the eligibility section. No eligibility requirements changed there. We just updated the text to clearly identify the guidelines for the ADA, TD, and bus pass program eligibility. We also updated the rate model, the rates from the rate model that Swarmy just discussed. And then also updated reference ETC evaluation and the evaluation by the CTD. And then some of the appendices were updated as well, such as the vehicle inventory and the transit division disaster plan as well. And those were basically all of the edits, but I'll take any questions before you approve. After it's approved, we'll be sending it to the CTD for review. We'll need to send that by June 30th this year.
Anyone have any questions on the plan?
I have a couple questions. I heard you mention a program audit completed by the CTD. What was the outcome of the program audit? Were there any findings or recommendations, suggestions for improvement?
So I can't speak to that, but they probably are still preparing the report. And so MCAT can come back at a later meeting and.
Thank you. So we'll rebut back to the board to let us know the outcome of that audit. Thank you. And I heard you mention, plan gives a status of the objectives and goals. Could you give, I guess, some more detail regarding that? Are they all in process? Have some been completed?
A good question. Most of them are just in progress or ongoing. And apologies, I didn't bring the document with me, so I can't speak to if any had been completed, but I'll always get back to you.
Thank you. And just a recommendation for future presentations of this item. I think it would be helpful to have an actual presentation of it. This is a very important document with a lot in it, so to have the visual, I think, would be helpful to the board members.
Grace, do we have anything online?
No, it's
Okay.
Yeah, the report is online. There's a link in the agenda to it. For review. I agree that having a little bit more detailed presentation on an annual report like this is probably beneficial for discussion purposes. That's kind of why everyone's gathered around here, but it is available online for review and subsequent questions for several member things for those. Any other questions? Saying none, I will entertain motions to approve the updated service plan. I can't make it.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 Transportation Disadvantage Service Plan. This is Alida Mojic.
Dale Hansen, I'll second the motion.
You got that?
I know how.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
I,
All opposed, chair votes aye, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the final action item, approval of the community transportation coordinator evaluation. I'm not sure, is that one David or Dorman here, you're both listed on this.
Wanna go further, or you want me to go first? Want me to in general, there is a letter that was provided. That gives a brief description as to if there was any findings or anything like that. It's fine, don't worry about it.
I wasn't prepared for that.
That's in general, every year, except the 5th year, like I mentioned earlier, we have to go to MCAT and do an evaluation of the system. Many of you that are here were present there. So we basically go through the process of how MCAT provides the services, the options that the riders have to communicate feedback back to the organization, how the criteria is put forward by the CTD are being followed, et cetera. We do conduct a ride along, which Grace and Rachel kindly did, and I didn't have to do. I appreciate that. Thank you. And we do calls also. In general, everybody had nothing but good things to say. I can say that for the last 2 or 3 years, that has been the norm. Everybody that we call has nothing but good things to say. And even in the evaluations, we're able to see the effort that the county is putting forward to providing services to the transportation disadvantaged community, and also looking to provide new services as the veterans only service and items like that, which seems to have very good received. It's been received very well by the community, especially the veterans. I can't say anything bad about it. It's always an enjoyable process, at least on our end. And we look forward to the future. Rick, I know you were there. I know you're a writer. I know you're a veteran. I don't wanna put you on the spot. If not, I just wanna give you the option if you had anything to say, since it was, for us, it was the first time that we had an actual writer take part of it, so it was an enjoyable experience, and you brought a lot of questions that maybe we didn't have or we didn't see, but I wanna give you the option if you want to provide.
It was a good meeting and I learned a lot. I mean, I'm always out looking for how the sausage is made, so to speak, and that was a good meeting for that. And as far as the phone calls go, I had mentioned to Stormy if there was a way to do that periodically through the year and keep up on things before anything could be serious. Once a year is great, but you know, the people I talked to on the phone were very friendly and frankly very helpful, and I think it's a great way. It puts MCAT in a great view, you know, that they're actually being proactive with the community.
Yeah, you mentioned something about maybe trying to do it quarterly.
Yeah, that's something that
It's not like, you know, we gotta do 1,000 phone calls in a
Right,
week, or
right.
anything, so it's not a big deal, but the information that you asked me to gather is poignant and timely and close enough to one of their rides that their memories
Their
would be
memories,
clear
yeah.
about, there was something wrong, I'd hear about it.
Right.
And that was the whole point.
Yep, I agree.
that is something that surely the LCB can discuss.
Yep.
Should it choose to do that. I can't say that you guys are doing, I'm just here to assist the board in general. But sure, if something that the board in general wants to discuss, and obviously a decision doesn't have to be made right now, but it's ultimately up to you guys.
I just chime in that I know a lot of us work during the day and represent agencies, and that we only have so much time that even once a year to donate that much time during the workday. I don't know, especially for it's not feasible to do it quarterly, that if it was something to be done, it would have to be a rotation and not up to. Like, I appreciate Rick, but you're retired, so it's much easier to, you know, 5-6 hours during every quarter when we're working, we have, you know, 40, 45, 50 hours a week. It's just, it would be a tough ask.
No, I understand, and that's something that, and you're right, I'm retired, so I have a lot more time in the bucket than I used to have, but I'm not willing to spend it doing that. It'll help, you know, help us stay in front of how we're doing.
Yeah, I think we'd have to discuss that more on it can't just be those 4 of us who do calls, so that'd be something that other board members would have to help. Maybe take a quarter so that you're only doing it once a year. I would think that would be the most logistically positive way to do it, that it's not just on the same people, that it is a shared responsibility with every board member who wasn't part of that. So what I'm saying, like, it would have to be, think of those of us who weren't part of it and go like, you would have, would it be feasible to donate 5-6 hours during the workday to call? Every once a year, so that's where I go, maybe we don't have to come up with just food for thought. Some words.
I'll say, I'll just make sure if you coordinate anything with people that you look in, talk to your MPO attorney about sunshine.
Yes.
I don't know if this board's a sunshine board, I'm guessing it is, you're making recommendations, and if it's a sunshine board, a couple of y'all hop out and do something together and even open your mouth. You subject yourself to it, whether you're appointed or not, so be careful. I deal with it every day, because I am elected, but I run into issues with people on a lot of our appointed affordable housing board, planning commission boards that don't realize that they're subjected to the same rules we are. I'll leave it at that.
Brendan, to your point, you know, as far as time and staff time, the MPO does put an effort into providing multiple staff to make the calls for larger period of time to ensure that we're getting an ample amount of surveys done. So I do understand where you're coming from. And it is true, I'm not sure we have the resources to do that on a quarterly basis. And it, you know, to Commissioner Cruz's point, sunshine is a thing that we should consider. But again, it's something that should the board, as the chair of the board, should you choose to continue discussing it in future meetings. Something I'd like to.
Okay. Any other questions about the evaluation? Was there another part to this? Or are you just deferring everything today?
Yeah, no.
Okay, all right.
I have an easy question, I think. The trips that were performed are steadily increasing in the right direction of going up since both times.
Right.
How much of that though is associated with driver shortages? Is that still impacting the amount of trips or?
It's not impacting our amount of trips, no, it's impacting, our drivers. They're working lots of overtime. We're gonna get to that in the next part, about the trips and all that.
Oh,
Anything else? None, all right, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the evaluation.
Christina Melling, motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Mitchell O'Brien, second.
All right. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, chair votes aye, motion passes unanimously. Moving on, section 6, reports and presentations. The first one will be a community transportation coordinator report. Discussing MCAT's quarterly report.
Okay.
Should just put you over here.
All right, so, I'm just gonna touch base on the Manatee Moves Veterans on Demand. It's steadily increasing, I think, so quarterly, we're at 183 trips, they're much higher than that as of June. Yeah, as of today, we're at 420 trips, we're almost to the 500. It seems to be going very well, very appreciative. I'm gonna touch base on our quarterly, our total quarterly trips from January through March was 18,836. 12,534 of that were Americans with disabilities. 6,302 were TD trips. 24 of those being the CCE. 3,189 were the APD. 681 were for escorts, personal care assistants, and feeder service BMX. 8 of those were the veterans hospital trips. All right, 16% of those trips were medical, 18% were dialysis, 19% was work, 1% was school, Minnesota Lighthouse, 9% were casual, 8% was food and nutrition, 3% of it were life sustaining, 21% were APDs agencies. 3% were PCAs. 1,445 were pet trips. On to complaints. Total complaints for the quarter. We had 6 complaints, like there were 1 policy, 1 service. Well, technically 2 policy, 3 service. 8 miscellaneous. 6 complaints total if you add them all together.
We had a total of 15 customer accommodations. And Katie will start the next portion.
Okay. So although we are experiencing a driver shortage, we have yet to not meet any of our trips. We haven't had to deny or prioritize any of our trips. We're working very diligently to make sure that we're able to meet the needs of our residents, our citizens, and our visitors. We do have a little steadily increase of no-show and cancellations, 135 no-shows, 319 canceling out their door, or 232 canceling late, not giving us at least a 2-hour notice for the quarter. And our on-time performance goal is 95%, and the average for the quarter is 97%.
Can I say something, please? Sure. I want to thank you for your on-time performance. And again, I say that program you guys use that sends out when the bus is going to be there. I don't know how you do it, but the bus arrives within 2 minutes of what that thing says. So you can count on that information as being absolutely accurate. And as from a rider standpoint, that's like a godsend. I mean, there was a time when you booked an order and you hoped the heck somebody showed up, and that's gone away. And that's makes so much difference. So thank you.
I appreciate your feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for the quarter, this next part of the presentation is new registered users. For the quarter, we had 115 new registered users. This entails clients or their personal care attendants or escorts. Typically, as seen in the past, only a very small percentage use the handy bus within that first month. But they do go on to use it later. So 40 of the 115 used it within the first month, 75 did not. We sent out 85 recertifications. Clients are required to recertify every 3 years. Sometimes we get some temporary certification, so we can do a year, 2 years, 6 months, just depending on the disabling condition. And we do have a shuttle service that services Port Manatee. So we had 3 new registers for the Port Manatee shuttle. And then agencies and miscellaneous. This is people who register to use our service under the Community Care for the Elderly program, or under a med waiver going to Easter Seal Sunrise. Or they use med waiver for work purposes as well. So overall for the quarter, 206 new registers and recertifications. Go to the next slide. And this just breaks it down a little bit more. So of that 115, 24 trips were booked, 24 clients booked trips within their first month of registering, with 16 personal care attendants or escorts using it, and then respectively 74 and 1 that did not use it that first month. And the reasons vary. So they could have registered at the end of the month and they used it the next month. This could be a secondary service for them. We have clients that have Medicaid, so they do need to use Medicaid for their medical transportation. And we also have people that live in different zones that we service. And there are some limitations to the services provided in different areas of Manatee County. For the quarter, 17 have used the service since registering. And it was short and sweet. Does anyone have any questions?
I have 2 quick questions, right? One, what were the policy complaints? If you don't know, you can just email me. I'm just.
Yeah,
I'm going 2 of them, so I'm clearly is that a policy problem, but I'm just curious.
Right.
Typically, they have to do with the service area. So we do provide trips under the Americans with Disabilities Act that requires us to provide service within a certain zone of Manatee County. And then the CTE reimburse us for trips outside of that zone.
Correct.
So it could be the zoning, but if specifically, we can email those to you.
My second question is, that was a lot of cancellations, gets up the door, and we have a driver shortage.
Mhm.
It's part of, like, I'm the one who made the fare free plan, but there's also consequences to making things free, people take advantage of free.
Right.
You know, people park a car and just walk away at the beach for 12 hours because the parking's free. People will call for buses just in case they maybe need it, you still have to allocate some. What do we do about that? Like, we can't charge them a penalty because we're not charging them, we probably don't even have a credit card or anything on file to charge.
So under,
Can we have a discussion on, you know, you do that twice, you get suspended from the service for
We have a
60 days, you do it 3 times, you get suspended for 6 months, there's Uber, there's other ways people can get around that cost them money.
Right.
We need to discourage them from canceling, because we have to send the same driver to them, whether or not they get the bus or not.
so we do have staff that does daily calls for those who've missed trips. And for those who have 5 or more within a month, they'll get a warning letter, and then after the 3rd month, within a 6-month period, they do get a 7-day suspension from our service.
We need to consider, we'll talk about that from a board level, with our students. I'm just, look, if we had bus drivers falling out of our pockets, we had nothing better to do, send them all over the place, it's free advertising for MCAT. But if we're at a point where we're picking and choosing, picking up this person or this person, because we don't have the driver for both. And this person's standing there with a bag in their hand waiting to get picked up, but we can't pick them up because we have a driver shortage. And this person cancels on it at the last minute because they just be like, "Ah, maybe I'm gonna go see it, or maybe I'm gonna go do this. Let me schedule it just in case, because I need to do it 24 hours in advance or 48 hours. And then they don't even have the decency of telling us, no, there's gotta be some, because it's not a matter of wasting our driver's time, it's costing this person a ride. Now, this person may have to call an Uber or call a friend who has to take time off work to pick them up, it's not fair to this person.
There is room for adjusting our policy, but we are mandated federally to do the 7-day suspension after. Well, we can change, like, we have it at 5 a month, we could reduce it to 3 or something like that. But the suspension period, that's federally mandated.
Could it be quicker than 3 months? Cause it feels like it's a glorified finger wag of like, you get 3 months, you can miss 15 total
Right.
trips to get a.
To get a warning.
Like, it feels like that's.
Anyway.
But let's have a conversation, because we're going into budget season in the county, and transit's gonna come up and say, we have money for drivers, and the question's gonna be where our current drivers are. Those non-supplier drivers just driving around saying hi to people on their front steps, don't even get their bus.
Yeah.
Happy to make it free, happy to pick up everyone, I'll drive everybody every place if I can keep cars off. But I can't just have buses drive around every season.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Now, Kate, let me ask you this, the federally mandated 7-day suspension after you said 5 missed trips, correct?
It's
In a month?
5 in a month, and not 3 consecutive months, but 3 months within a 6-month period.
Does that federal guideline allow you to do anything more stringent before hitting that threshold, or do you have to hit that threshold and then you're able to implement your own policies?
Like I said, there is some room for like adjusting that. On the top of my head, no, I'd have to reach out to FTA to see what the requirements are.
And that, but federal doesn't require this to be free, right? I mean, that's just.
Right.
So, I mean, people really want to push, we could charge and then reimburse people back 100% of their cost if they get on the bus. And if you don't get on the bus, you're getting charged for the ride you didn't take. That'll get people on that bus real fast. Charge first and reimburse 100% of it if they actually take the ride.
I know that we try to keep the policy the same across the board, but I know regulations for like ADA trips versus TD trips is different, so we could possibly have a second policy like for TD versus ADA, but the ADA is very.
Sure, well, we can take this offline to have a policy discussion, let's say with you all during recess or whenever we can, then we'll get Charlie and everyone involved. And let's see if we can come up with maybe a good scenario to help with the bus driver shortage.
Is this ride free program coming to an end, or is it continue on?
So it's technically considered a pilot program that keeps being extended, but there is no end date yet.
When I proposed it, I just wanted it to be permanent. I got the board to agree to an 18-month pilot program, because we wanted to get through 2 cycles of, we figured the first, it happened at the end of, was it 2022, was it?
I-
And so we figured the first season was just starting, it would take time for people to understand it, we wanted it to go through the next season once it was more known. That's how it got 18 months. At the end of the 18 months, the board elected to extend it by an additional 18-month pilot. So technically, it's still a pilot program, it can still be rescinded at the end of the newest 18 months, which would have been summer 2024 when it came up, so pretty much end of 2025, end of this calendar year roughly, or beginning of 2026, somewhere in there. Will be when that pilot program ends. It'll be a follow-up discussion with the board of making it permanent or rescinding.
I think, I appreciate the program, believe me, it saved me a whole bunch of money, but I thought to myself, when the program ends, and now we have to re-educate everybody, now's a fair to get on the bus. The bus driver's gonna have his hands full trying to describe.
I'm trying to make sure it never ends.
And
I don't want keeping a pilot program.
but then the value in the ride also comes in how much the ride costs. If the ride doesn't cost anything, then I believe what happens is everything else starts to drift away. So then you have, I don't wanna show up, I don't wanna be bothered, blah, 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 there's no consequence.
That's my point, that's why we need to have a discussion of consequence. The global free is a whole different, I've been advocating to make it permanent from day one, I don't want a pilot program. At the end of the day, if we were to implement costs again, all of our fare boxes are now antiquated, and we have over $5 million of capital costs associated with upgrading those, plus the re-education process of the entire thing. It's not inexpensive to come off of free.
I would add to that, the level of turnover of drivers and stuff like that, you have drivers that have never charged a fare. So the level of training.
And there's ancillary benefits to it as well. Not only is it a better situation for our drivers who don't become bouncers on our buses.
Right.
Yeah.
But our buses go faster because you don't have to sit there and have people digging up quarters.
Right.
On the middle of 14th Street, while cars are piling up behind them. People are able to hop on and off, 1 stop, 2 stops, 5 stops. They don't have to justify, does it make sense to pay $1.50? Am I going far enough to justify that? The benefits, in my personal opinion, far outweigh.
That's why I wondered why you guys didn't standardize early on and change all the fare boxes so that anybody, even paratransit wise, gets on the bus, they got $5, I don't want the dollar or whatever. They can put their money in and get a receipt back and drive, use
Because the boxes are expensive, we didn't have boxes, the new boxes now, you can use Apple Pay and all that, not on ours, on other systems, you can use Apple Pay in your phone. Those are expensive, they're expensive to install, they're expensive to maintain, that's money that we would have to allocate. To do that.
How is it advertised that it's free?
Well, it's been going on now for 2.5 years. We did a whole campaign of fare free Manatee. We had it all on social media. Our buses say it.
Is it at the bus stops? Does it say at the bus stop, this ride is free?
I don't know. I don't think it was. The biggest problem we've had honestly is Breeze, well now Breeze, Scat, because we share a line with Sarasota, the 99 route. They're not free. So the biggest confusion was if you hopped on half of our buses, well, I guess 40%, right? They had 2 buses, we had 3 at one point. If you hopped on the two Sarasota buses going from downtown Bradenton, even though you were Manatee, you had to pay. But then Sarasota got all bad because people would let their buses drive away empty and wait for the Manatee bus.
That's the over experience, yeah. They don't wanna get.
But we share revenue with them, so Sarasota got upset because they weren't getting their revenue share associated with 60% of the buses, because we were collecting revenue, so we had to deal with that headache. But that complicated a little, because not technically every bus was free in Manatee County, because if you hopped on the Sarasota bus, it was. Same thing with the airport. But right now it's free. My intention is, I'll still be on the board when this pilot ends, and I'm still pushing to make it permanent.
But I'm glad that you're bringing this up because this is almost 700 trips, right?
Yes,
That's a lot.
I had no idea.
And if you have the drivers that are making overtime because they're pushed with some of those trips, I mean, that's the money we waste,
100%.
right?
We need to have a serious talk about.
I mean, I know.
Punitive penalties for doing that. I'll ride you around for free all day long if you get on the bus, but if you're gonna just waste our time and our money and take advantage of a service we're trying to provide, we need to make sure we're compensated.
Yeah, I know how we are when, if we have a senior that, oops, I forgot, I have a medical appointment, and we've gone all the way up to Monks and Waller Road.
Yeah.
You know, and they went, oops, it's a lot of time, it has other clients still on the bus for a lot longer than need be.
Correct.
Which is our goal, obviously, to keep that amount of time low.
Not only on the bus driver side, but on the time allotment that was set up for that trip.
Right.
There's somebody that could have used that trip. And
Sure, that's a problem and a meaningful cost savings to transit if we can fix that problem. So let's sit down on a separate meeting and discuss. Are there any other questions associated with this quarterly report?
There it is.
There's no action needs to be taken, so we'll move on to the next presentation, and that's Cameron from Eastern Street.
Good morning, everybody. Like I said earlier, I'm Cameron Collins. I know I'm new around this table right now, but I'm not new to TD world. I used to work at Easter Seals from 2008 to 2014, and it's really fun to be back in this consulting capacity. One of the items that came onto my plate in my new role is this grant that Easton Seals nationally, which is headquartered in Chicago, received from General Motors. And they picked 4 affiliate sites across the country to receive this grant. And it's pretty lovely. What's not lovely is that we have to spend the dollars by the end of December.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes, I know it's hard to believe, it's hard to spend money quickly. So we're in a little bit of a time crunch here, but I spoke with David and some of his staff, and a couple of things, high priorities for us and for Amanda too, is not to duplicate what's already happening here. The goal of this grant is to convene about 10 to 20 key community stakeholders and representatives who can contribute to transportation solutions. And they mentioned a 1 to 2 day forum. Brett, I hear you about time commitment, and Dave and I talked about it, and some of his team talked about having to pull you guys together for yet another meeting. It's probably not doable. So I talked to the national office, and we may be able to do a little pre-planning work, like through surveys or emails, and then just have another line item on the agenda for the September meeting. But Judy is the name of the person in nationals who is really championing this for us. And she says GM wants to be there at the September meeting. Now, I don't know if that means by Zoom or Teams or actually physically have representatives here. And Amanda and I and team at Easter Seals have repeatedly questioned, what does GM want from this, right? Like, I've dealt with funders for a long time, and what is their main goal? And I said, is this going to lead to more vehicles for our community, you know, that they're going to provide? And they're really not able to answer that. And I don't know what their interest is, but in trying to kind of, you know, thread around or push a round peg in a square hole, when I talked to the Easter Seals team, and I sort of wanted to see your head nods one way or the other about this, the challenges that they seem to feel the most was the post-disaster recovery transportation piece. So like after hurricanes, how quickly are we back up serving our clients, particularly for Manatee County? So we asked Judy if that's where these efforts could focus if we looked after post-hurricane, you know, we're back up in action. And she said, yes, there's one of the affiliates, one of the 4 is in Colorado. And of course, they're looking at post-snowstorm, you know, services getting back up. So kind of the same thing, but just a different weather event. So I don't know. And here today, I wanted to see if any of you, and I realized this is circling really closely, like in a Venn diagram almost of what we're already talking about, with more information on the reports that you mentioned and where are the gaps and where are pain points. Eastern Seals seems to, this GM grant seems to want like a report at the end of December of what our ideas are of how to fix and help some of these. At the same time, Dave's team told me that in 2025, no, we're in 2026, they would be going through a whole audit of the TD system here in both counties. So again, a couple of things, not interested in recreating the wheel, need to do something to meet the requirements of this grant. Would love to have as many people's input as are interested, especially those of you that are providing the direct service. And this time frame between right now and the end of December. really trying not to schedule a full day thing out of respect for your time and busyness. I totally get it. Any other thoughts, any other points that I missed here?
And I think, really, really the point of this grant, and especially what we think GM is looking for and what we think, Easter Seals National is really getting at is that all the affiliates are in different areas of the country. Like Cameron was saying, Colorado's looking at snowstorms and their post-disaster relief. We can't relate to that here. We're not out shoveling water. Post-hurricane, we're having to deal with floods and the fact that we cannot get our clients from point A to point B, and that some services are deemed medical emergencies and they have to be served, while others may not be, yet it's still impacting the clients if they don't have access to, their services right after a hurricane. I think we can all say we've probably flooded Katie's emails, a couple of days after, the hurricane saying, hey, when are we gonna get up and running? When are we gonna do these things? And while we all represent different agencies, our clients all have very similar needs, and the community that we serve have very similar needs. And just like Cameron was saying, kind of that Venn diagram, the clients of Meals on Wheels are at times very similar to the clients at Easter Seals. Same with when we're looking at Medicaid and ACA and different agencies. So I think it's about really kind of getting our collective perspective as to those that we serve, how the pain points may be a little different for each of us, but what we can collectively do to potentially help address them. I don't think GM is gonna, expect a report from us saying, oh, we will fix, every item on the list that you've given us, or, we can provide these services to help address this. I think what they're really looking for is kind of a national idea as to what individuals with disabilities, those in the aging community, those who are disadvantaged, how they can assist. So this is really kind of an opportunity for us to have a very open discussion and just lay it on the table in a very non kind of regulated way, and just honestly say what the struggles are and what the hurdles are, and so what we can do to help present that to GM and to present that to Easter Seals National to help us across the board.
This is making sense. The other thing is we do have the beauty to really tweak it and customize it to our community. And so I don't know if then I started thinking about sunshine, like what are the requirements if we meet outside of these doors or email exchanges? Like, does it have to be totally separate from anything TD related? If people volunteer to be interested in
I'm not an
this.
attorney.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put myself in that position. But discussing anything from a sunshine board outside of a noticed public meeting that includes notes and availability to the public. That is or could reasonably be presumed to be on a future agenda violates sunshine.
So then
Take that for what it is. I'm
Yeah.
not your attorney or your consultant on this, so.
I cast you.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing is, and yay on us, we are much further along than our community than some of the other grantees are, and we're much more organized in this bi-county framework that we have than other communities. And so, not recreating the wheel, we've already done a lot of this work, there's already plans in place. We're talking the 2026 review happening. So here we are being creative to see how we can meet these grant requests and give information back to GM that is helpful to whatever it is they're trying to do. And so in my packet, I had sent around a sign-up sheet, or I included a sign-up sheet that I inadvertently thought was going to be printed today. So I would, well, then we're at the sunshine issue. I don't know, Dave, what do you think?
I'm not.
Where are you setting the peak?
Well,
You could do off-site stuff, you could just treat it as a work session or even a special meeting if it's a vote, so you something. There's nothing that prohibits you from meeting. So our board has met out my parish, but we just noticed.
And notice it through you all.
But you put it out to the public. For example, we put it out on our website and we put it out on the local newspapers.
So through the Easter Seals channels, we can do that. Okay.
Okay. Because then that's something I don't know if all of you are familiar with where Easter Seals is, we are literally 6 minutes down the road. And we have the opportunity to, if we're not gonna host it here, we could host it at Easter Seals. We have a large multi-purpose room, and while also, being, I more than understand what Brett is saying, even taking a couple hours out of a day every quarter. To even come to the meetings is not always feasible, but if we're very intentional about our time, maybe maybe 4 hours or so meeting at Easter Seals and really having a really finite discussion and maybe coming up with one pinpointed idea that pains all of us and attacking that versus kind of coming up with a laundry list of challenges that we all face, maybe a more concise use of our time. Because I think it would take more than a couple of hours to come up with all of our pain points. So.
And I promise nice food.
Yes.
We have money for that.
Yes, a delicious meal.
I do promise that. I can say that.
Do you guys have any ideas that you've already come up with, or are you just looking for us to, in a sense, write the grant?
No,
Oh, no,
grant's
no.
done.
Like,
Grant-
you're like,
grant's
you're
done. It's
like,
done. Wait
I mean,
for
I
the
think
grant.
to where you go in pain points, I think we can all go, it's like, it's the rural areas within the counties that we serve, of how do we get transportation out there, that you go of like. When you're not trying to duplicate, I think to where you go, we've all said it enough of these with MCAT, to where we start going into, we're expanding out into Manatee cities, that there isn't, there isn't the door to door because there just isn't the need. I think that's like across the board for those of us who've sat in this meeting for multiple years, that's the population within Manatee County that's not served.
I mean, really, if you think about it, any side of 75,
Yeah.
which I hate to say this, no one puts, Lakewood Ranch and rural in the same sentence. But I think we can all say that we've had clients that we want to be able to have access to services, have transportation that can't get from one side of 75 to the
And
other.
I think where you go Lakewood Ranch, I believe a meeting before, like within the last two, somebody brought up, is there gonna be fixed routes out there?
Yeah.
And you guys had to break it to them, it's like, there just isn't the need out there, that it's just not the population that tends to use it, so it's not out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if this is something where you're not looking to duplicate, I think that's to where you guys should start, in my opinion.
But there is a population that could use it.
Yes.
We tested it once down on Professional Parkway to the airport or wherever, it was forever, like a decade ago or so. What people fail to realize about Lakewood Ranch is, it's not the people who live in Lakewood Ranch that need the bus, it's people who work in Lakewood Ranch that need the bus.
Yes.
I hear it from businesses all the time out of Lakewood Ranch, that your baristas, your people at Panera Bread, your people at all the restaurants, the places like that, the people up at the industrial sites. The workers have a hard time out there. The problem you have in Manatee County or any small places is last mile delivery. I mean, you can't bring people exactly where they wanna be. And unlike downtown St. Pete, downtown Tampa, Orlando, any other larger place that have downtown services and shuttle services, we don't have that. We could dump people off. I mean, we're moving a lot of our headquarters presumably for the county out to Lakewood Ranch. So there's been discussion, do we have a bus, even if it's an hourly?
Right.
Fix just going from downtown to there or someplace else to there. If we do, then that could open up an opportunity for last mile kind of services, whether they be electric scooters or they be some other, golf cart kind of thing, to start getting employees out to places in Lakewood Ranch.
There's also the van pool program as well.
Sure, there's lots of, there's also what is downtown Bradenton called? What's their little thing? The other free stuff?
Oh, there's that. Oh, and that's that car you can call. Oh, I know what you're talking
I think it's
about.
Breeze, isn't it? Breeze.
Maybe, that's what I wanna say actually, but I also stared at Sarasota's logo up on the screen. And the point is, that could be something they may consider coming to Lakewood Ranch if we start dropping people off on a shuttle service. Near our place, down by Market Square, and then someone can shuttle them around. So there's opportunity out there. Mayaca is a different story, because now you have to consider the transportation time, getting all the way out to Mayaca City and back to pick up one person. Now all of a sudden you spend 2 hours picking up one person.
Exactly.
One other thought that came to mind is Manatee County is reforming their COAD group, Community Organizations Active in Disaster, and I've been going to those meetings, representing Easter Seals, and transportation is at the table. So, that's good. And
That's it.
what's it called?
Freebie.
Yep.
Thank you.
Google it.
What do you all think is the best way to gauge interest in this from you and folks who may be on this board but not here? Like,
What's
would
the intent?
you be willing to come?
For what?
With the intent.
I mean, I know for what, you just, but not talking, I guess the question is.
Or.
How's it any different than what the general conversation is here, but specific to you? I mean, it almost feels like this is a conversation that what would impact Easter seals would impact other organizations
Everybody.
as well. And having a global discussion on how to handle things, especially associated specific schools or specific classes of is no different. Spending hours at one location to talk about a hyper thing of how do we get people down Braden Road down here. Does a disservice to all the other locations that can also be utilizing similar. I mean, you have Academy downtown Bradenton. I mean, they have the exact same question. How do we get people downtown Bradenton? Granted, they've got a bus hub, but
Well,
there's others similar to Easter.
if this September meeting could have maybe 20 or 30 minutes to this process, would that work for people better? That it's like built in to a meeting, we can bring lunch, I don't know.
I think more important than lunch, can it be much more targeted? Like,
Yeah.
it's very like where we're going, is like it's.
It could, but.
I maybe I'm feeling like it's like, if you guys can come really prepared of what you want from us, not just, hey, we just wanna have, I think that really help all of us.
Yeah, I'm not saying you can't target your presentation and your suggestions and your request to Easter Seal. I'm saying a broader discussion of how we help Easter Seals also helps other organizations. Sitting in Easter Seals having a very, very targeted thing.
It's not about Easter, so
Oh, yeah,
actually,
no,
it's about the broader community.
It is.
And which is why I didn't wanna duplicate meetings if we're already here meeting, you know.
Disseminate information to the board through MPO ahead of time. You can put out suggestions and PowerPoint presentation. It could be disseminated one directional to the board so people come prepared and it's more meaningful discussion.
Yeah. And I think, I think that was, while it is facilitated through Easter Seals, what GM is looking for is community, exactly, and the issues that are facing transportation with regards to individuals who are low income, individuals who have disabilities, individuals who are, blind, deaf, veterans. It's very much targeted towards the exact community that we all serve in our capacities. So while we may kind of be the host of the idea of this, it really is to serve individuals across this entire spectrum. So there may even be individuals who aren't at the table with us, like individuals from the Academy downtown will kind of give their input as to what they're facing. And I do agree with Brett about targeting something. And I think that, Cameron really hit it on the head and gave a precursor to it. The fact that Manatee is starting their own co-ed and starting that process. And it's June 1st and we just hit hurricane season and it literally started raining the day it hit hurricane season. I think that if we can potentially target something that is focusing on the population we serve and post-disaster transportation services, that gives us a very finite topic that we're focusing on, that we can say pain points within that topic that we all experience across the board.
Possibly, who is the individual at MCAT who speaks with the EOC from those post-disaster services?
Yeah, do you know who's attending co-ed for MCAT?
I have.
And that way, maybe discussions can start there as to what they struggle with, what the, I don't say the complaints are, but the challenges. And have a basis, the baseline.
I think they're still figuring out who's going to it, because I mean, it's being run through United Way.
So then it's like the end goal, you guys get.
No, the end
Like,
goal.
I guess that's what I'm failing to go. What is GM looking like? What are we?
I think they just happen to tap into the grant from GM through the National Easter Seals organization. So it's really not just for Easter Seals.
But my thing is, so if we target disaster relief.
So that's what they're looking.
What are they then gonna do?
And that's what, and
Like, that's right, like, are they gonna buy vehicles?
That's
Is there
what
gonna
my
be people
question-
that, like, that's what I think before we can even talk in September, we need to know, what's the end game? Like, what are we, are we just spinning wheels and talking theoretics, or are we like actually gonna be? Because if we're just spinning wheels, that can be done in email and hypothetical, like what's the end goal? Like what's the accomplishment?
Or is it just the grant money for, this is the study, this is a.
I think that that's really what the grant, the seed money that GM provided to Easter Seals National, that then they chose the specific affiliates that were going to do this grant, was the idea of they are literally funding us to present where the issues are and where some of the issues are. And then what they do with that information, we're not exactly sure. Our hope is that we can be able to justify for our whole community, from across the board from Manatee and Sarasota County, these are issues we're facing. And then the hope be able to
And I
potentially.
think for some of us who do contract through, we have to be very careful of providing guidance to a contracted agency with us, like an APD, to where we license and fund that you go. I don't necessarily know, like myself, that might be a conversation which I probably should be privy to, providing suggestions on things for a grant for Easter that leave their contract.
No, I understand, and
Like, I think
these are great points that I'm gonna take back to the national office.
like, we're all state, or most of us are state agencies that you guys are a private company, but a lot of times you contract through us that. I'm just looking, not just Sunshine, that you go like, is it our place to provide as state agencies? Because you're looking at us as a board, but I work for the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, where you guys have a contract with us for services. And it's not our spot as an agency for persons with disabilities to provide guidance of how you guys get a grant.
Yeah, the grant's already got,
The grant.
But
it's
like,
already there.
that's not our role
Yeah.
within, I'm not saying we have the board to where we can provide guidance, but then we also have our life outside of here besides 1-2 hours every 3 months. To where we have to be careful within our agency to provide
In the attachment, there's 4 goals of an ATCI implementation, and we're actually already have the coalition, and that was goal number 3, grow coalition. This is the coalition, in my opinion. I mean, and the TD board is the coalition. So we're really on that 4th goal, which is like, it says structure stability. Structure sustainability. And so you look at your performance metrics. Well, I don't know if we have to find performance metrics, especially post-storm. And so maybe we come up with some performance metrics just for post-storm recovery that go in hand with what MCAT's goals are. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility.
I think we get the gist of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
I still think what you're looking for is going to be determined in this meeting, so I was prepared to have.
I was
So
really here.
there's a recommended action already up on the screen
Yeah,
to move to allow you back for the September meeting where we can have follow-up discussion. So I think right now we're just gonna keep spinning our wheels with a couple people just.
and I'll
talking
come back
for the
with
sake
some
of-
answers.
Prepare something for September and then have a meaningful conversation to help you take back to Eastern Shield. So I'll entertain a motion to have Eastern Shield's representatives come back to the September meeting to provide more information and discuss next steps.
Christina Melling, so move.
I'll second it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. We will see you in September.
Thank you.
All right, we got 2 last reports, DOT and MPO. We'll start with FDOT. Who's bring that?
Okay, again, thank you here for Victoria Upthegrove. She couldn't make it today, so I have her notes here. I'm gonna go over. Every single year, the Federal Transit Administration has a grant opportunity for their federal programs. There are 3 of them that the Department of Transportation is involved with, which eligible agencies can apply for those grants. They're for the 5th FTA Section 5310 program, which is for seniors and individuals with disabilities. Eligible agencies can apply for the capital and operating funds. There's the 5311 program, which is for the rural community. Again, those funds can be awarded for capital operating funds, grants. And there's the 5339 program, which is for bus and bus facilities. That's a capital program in the sense of if eligible agencies want to apply for funds to upgrade their shelters, to add bus stops, to apply for buses. So this grant opportunity happens every single December of every year. And then the following year, grants are awarded and contracts are made. So the current state fiscal year that we're in right now, it's about to end on June 30th. MCAT was just executed their 5310 operating contract. And Meals on Wheels Plus also was executed a contract for capital grants. Again, this past December, we received more applications for the FTA grant process for FFY Federal Fiscal Year 25. Those grant applications that were due this past December, we received 37 of them. Within this area here, MCAT applied for an application in the 5310 program, which is for seniors and individuals with disabilities, as well as Sunrise Community Southwest Florida also applied for funds in the 5310 program. Okay, that is that for that. Training opportunities, every single year. There is a professional development workshop and transit safety operations summit hosted by the FPTA, FDOT, and the Center for Urban Transportation and Research. It's held typically June and every single year in Tampa. Registration is open right now. It is actually June 9th through the 11th, is the actual summit and workshop itself. So if you want to go, you can contact me. I can tell you the name of it, give you the registration information. Very informative. Next topic is triennial reviews. Triennial reviews are similar to an audit. They happen every single 3 years by the Department of Transportation, but it's not an audit, it's a review where we go in and every agency who we award funds to, we look at their paperwork and we look at their vehicles if they have any, and we review them for compliance purposes to make sure they're remaining within the federal and state guidelines. Right now, we have none in progress for this particular area, but the agencies that have completed their review are Sunrise Community, Southwest Florida, and Meals on Wheels plus at Manatee. Just want to let you know, during any reviews that we have, if we find findings and issues, we work with the agencies until they are in compliance. So whatever findings are there, are going to be fixed from whatever's found during the review. And at that time, when they fixed everything, the review is deemed as complete. So, thank you all for being compliant. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Yep.
Mine is a short one. I kind of talked enough today. Just a reminder of the next meetings, and I think the next LCB meeting will be September 10th. The following would be November 12th. The CTD meeting in June 26th, in Tallahassee, and the FPTA annual conference in September in St. Pete Beach. One last, I think, item that I have is that for the next meetings, I'll be taking a step back from being the lead in the MPO part of this. I'll still be involved in the process, obviously. But Nick will be taking the reins of this meeting. Obviously, we'll continue to work together, and you guys can always contact me. I'll still be, again, involved in the process for the foreseeable future, at least until Nick feels comfortable with the process. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Looking forward to getting to know and working with everyone and drawing on everyone's experience. Thanks.
Hey, David, this is Lindsay online. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm, did we need a roll call vote for the TDSP? Does Commissioner Cruz need to do that?
We pretty much, we marked it as when everybody voted, since everybody voted unanimously. I just marked the people that were that are
present.
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, one more thing, because we did prior in September, so the next meeting is September 10th. The prior week is the FPTA conference, and so a lot of the LCB meetings have been moved the week of September 10th. In fact, September 10th is a pretty busy day. I think Collier's LCB meeting is that day, as well as Lee County LCB meeting. So for any of us have multiple areas that we have to attend, and you are planning on to hit multiple LCB meetings, just look out for the time frame and any coverage too.
So that'll give you plenty of time to tell those other places to move their meeting.
We're dividing and conquering. Yeah. So, yeah, use your staff.
All right, so you're good, you're good. All right, well, go around the table. You're good.
Yes, on fixed, I represent fixed model, and I just want to give an update. As you may or may not know, we have 15 bus routes in Manatee County. They run well, they run efficiently. However, we have a critical driver shortage at this point. It's bad. We have supervisors that are driving every day. That's not what they signed up for. That's not their job description. We have absences. On top of that, we still have runs we have to cancel. We do cancel them in the order of ridership but we still have at least one run covering the radius. My point is, we are bringing to the board. It's eminently whether it gets approved or not, reduction in service. Some will be just reduced hourly wise, some could have a absolute cut. I can't talk to the end result, all I know this is coming and we're going to inform you and the public of what the end results are. That this is coming.
Anybody know why we think it's a big shortage in drivers?
It's actually not just us.
Everybody.
Pinellas is
Some
gonna
people I-
start cutting their service.
Is it the liability of being the driver? The
I think-
consequences of bad driver, passenger altercations? Is it money?
Well, the obligations are high now because we don't have any fares, so there's really not,
No, with bad interaction with
Yeah.
that. 'Cause, we have,
honestly.
we have challenges getting the driver also, so.
Yeah,
It's
we're at a loss, like
Yeah.
it's I think it's an old age thing, like the newer generations,
So it's always been an issue, from my experience, it's always been that one organization tends to cannibalize the other one, riders. So it's always a matter of who's paying better, who's providing, the more bang for the buck for that person. The benefits and in general, it's always been an issue. It's not a Sarasota Bradenton situation.
No, it's a school board as well.
everywhere, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's a big responsibility. You're driving, I say precious cargo, ours are seniors, it's a big liability, and we know the roads of Manatee County are challenging.
And you're also driving around an $800,000 vehicle.
Right, and a 2,000 pound, it's a heavy vehicle, doesn't stop as quick, it's a huge responsibility.
It is.
And not everybody can do that, not everybody has the right heart to do that kind of job. So that is, I know that's our
There's
challenge.
multiple factors at play. I don't think liability is necessarily one.
Okay.
Like Stormy kind of touched on, you have one generation that's entering into retirement and the subsequent generation that's coming into the workforce doesn't make up for that.
Yeah.
You also have your younger workforce that doesn't care about something like benefits. Manatee County has great benefits.
Yeah.
But as a 20-something-year-old, you might not care about benefits. You want
They'd rather work.
dollar per
more.
hour.
Yeah.
The beer bill, 3 hours,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
A weekend
factors that
night.
are affecting not just Manatee County, but
Everywhere.
And
I take Uber for work and I sometimes talk to the drivers and I've been told on more than one occasion that the driver was an ex-bus driver. One had an altercation with a passenger and got fired for defending themselves. And then another one just wanted to have the freedom of driving when they want to drive.
Right.
Yeah,
I think scheduling.
Sort of scheduling, lots of them.
And on top of that, they don't need a CDL to drive Uber.
Exactly, yeah.
Don't need to see you.
Any questions?
Are you recruiting? Is that what I'm hearing? That you're
Yeah.
planning?
Yeah, next Monday, we're going to have.
We have a job fair.
Yeah, next Monday, this Monday coming, we're gonna have a two-phase. Once, I forget the morning one, but the afternoon is from 3:30 till 7. And it's at our, pardon me, it's at our property at 2411 Tallabass, which is only a mile and a half down the road, so.
And they have to have a CDL already.
Currently, because currently we want them to. I'm not sure if there will be exceptions because we want to get the training process in and over with, it just makes it that much more efficient if someone already has a commercial license with a passenger endorsement. If you don't have the passenger endorsement, as of a couple of years ago, you still have to go through a training phase with us as if you never had a CDL. It's just less efficient.
We have a lot of people, that apply that.
Yeah.
And have a class A CDL, but no passenger endorsement.
And
That
it
was
takes
one of
time.
them, it discourages that knowing that they have to redo their whole entire CDL test. Just to get that endorsement, so.
I'm just kind of looking outside, kind of broadening my. Have you ever worked with our local CVC, the Safe Children Coalition, where we have these foster kids that are aging out? They're gonna need a job, they're gonna need security, they would love to have benefits because they have no support out there whatsoever, and they have spent most of their life within the state system, child welfare system. Maybe a visit to, their age out services, once in a while to, present your agency, present your programs, recruitment process, to kind of gain the interest and groom them for potentially tomorrow in 5 years, 6 years to, work for you.
How old do you have to be to drive?
21.
Yeah, they're aging out. I mean,
Yeah, you
at
have to have
18
your-
to 23, they're considered aging out,
Okay.
and they can actually.
You have to have your, driver's license for 5 years, I think.
And I mean, there are programs, state programs that are helping these kids get the driver license, and I'm just saying, maybe
It's a
exposing
good thought, yeah.
your agency out there and say, hey, this is an opportunity for you tomorrow, when you no longer depend on a system, because the day comes that they can no longer depend on the system, that you can actually join us. This is what we're offering you
And it's
if
a
you
career
choose
path.
to go that career path.
Yeah, and because, I mean, even for us, we had one of the longtime drivers for you guys recently retire. Our clients have said, I have rode his bus for 10 years. They know these staff members. Is there any connection with any of the technical colleges to be able to also do something similar to what you're doing, what we could potentially do with the,
We
the
try
aging
to
out?
go to, anything we're invited to, like Touch of Trucks, we recently just went to the, what's that, Palooza, we were there.
Saturday, we were there.
Yeah, we try to get our hands out in anything we can to try to reach out to people, so we're trying.
And a lot of the people, the feedback was not Manatee County roads.
Yeah.
And then the people that you do get, they're like, okay. Maybe, that's just talk and.
Or they're doing it for,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one person I get my email to, so I haven't received anything yet. But, again, if that person were they qualified with the CDL with passenger endorsement, no.
And also the background check, stops.
Yeah.
Because are you guys level 1 or level 2?
Level two.
Yeah.
I think that's what.
We had one that was a recent school bus driver, was out to have a baby. And you would think, oh, they're gonna pass, but.
Can help you?
Yeah.
All right, so as far as mine within paratransit, I don't have any other updates. We do have an overall Manatee County Area Transit update. It hasn't come up in this specific meeting. Typically, travel training, mobility coordination comes up. Unfortunately, our travel trainer, Julie Young, passed away last week. So, yes,
Who was it?
Jewel Young. She was our mobility coordinator, travel trainer. She did a lot of our outreach. She used to work with Scott. And she was at Scott. Yeah, she did.
Doesn't matter.
Anything else? Sorry, any more presentations?
I'm good. Okay. I'm just looking forward to our new vehicle, should be soon, so we're very excited about that. And just a little bit outside of the transportation, but Meals on Wheels Plus, we are also oversee the food bank of Manatee. And we're in the process of putting up a 5,000 square foot extension. We're very proud to be able to serve Manatee County in the food disadvantaged area also. Thank you guys.
Alright. Thank you all for coming. Our next meeting is September 10th at 10 a.m. here in North Room. We'll be inviting Easter Shield back. I'll say full agenda. So without objection, we are adjourned.
Statement.